This is a Southernmost House here in Key West. The owner, Michael Halpern, has called this house an unknown secret museum. It's located at 1400 Duval Street. This is the south end of Duval, kind of the quieter end, if you will. In fact, it's really close to the iconic southernmost buoy. The house was built as a residence in 1897 and has evolved into what is now a guest house. There's some stunning rooms, some history, and a collection of artifacts began sometime in the 1950s or 60s. So we'll take a look inside here in a few minutes. First, let me give you some background on the house that applies to the museum inside. By the way, this is the Seaside Cafe. It's on property and overlooks the Atlantic Ocean. Great views. It's an awesome place to dine and relax. Especially known for the lobster pizza. It's doggone good. Of course, the view and the sounds are awesome as well. At the time of this 2024 filming, the house was owned by Michael Halpern. He was an attorney and philanthropist here in Key West. Unfortunately, he passed away in December of 2024. This house was originally called the Southernmost House, but maybe because of some confusion, legalities, perhaps some overuse of the term Southernmost, the name was changed to the Mansion on the Sea in July 2023. Then after Michael's passing, the name changed back to the Southernmost House. Interestingly, there's a house down the street toward the buoy that has a placard on the wall indicating that that house is the southernmost house. This house was built sometime after the mansion, I think 1939. So I guess this is now the southernmost house, but it's kind of confusing, but anyway. Bonus coverage. That southernmost house was a bungalow built for Thelma Strable. I think I'm pronouncing that right. She was a famed author of Reap the Wild Wind. That was a novel about the wreckers and salvage men who worked here in Key West and made Key West their base in the early days. The novel was later turned into a film and released in 1942. Interestingly enough, it stars John Wayne. Keep in mind that most of the information regarding the contents and history of this house is what Michael had mentioned during our stay, and also through basic observation and some inquiries that we had with some of the employees. It may not be completely factual history. It's possible that these stories from Michael include a little bit of embellishment mixed in with a little bit of folklore, just to keep things interesting. Hard to say. I'll leave that for you to determine. This mansion was built in 1897 by William Curry, Florida's first millionaire, as a wedding present to his daughter, Florida Curry. The original cost was estimated to be around $250,000, and it's said to have been the most expensive house ever built in Key West. Depending on how you calculate it, it could mean that the cost in today's money is upwards of $10 million, and maybe more. Interestingly, during the design, William's daughter wanted no visitors and she wanted no children, so this mansion was built as a one-bedroom mansion. I have to say, it's a lot of house for only one bedroom. She also wanted the best electricity available, so William hired Thomas Edison to travel to Key West and install the electricity in the mansion. The Currys held the mansion until 1919, when Al Capone seized the mansion. He used this mansion as a gambling casino and as a bar speakeasy, and he held this building all the way till 1933 when Prohibition was repealed. At that point, Al Capone then went back to Chicago. Then the house was purchased by the Ramos family, who ran it as a restaurant until 1949. The house then was renovated into a private residence. And it stayed that way until 1996, when it was converted to a bed and breakfast, which it is today. It's an 18-room bed and breakfast and is accompanied by the Seaside Cafe, which serves as a hotel's restaurant. There are 9 rooms in the main house, 4 bungalows outside, and 5 across the street in the yellow Lopez house. Michael called this a secret museum. Let's take a look. It's early in the morning, so things are pretty quiet. This is the reception office. Also within this room are some noteworthy documents. Over here is a document signed by Thomas Jefferson. This document was part of the process to allow ships to enter the U.S. back in the day. This is an original document signed by Thomas Jefferson. And next to this are original documents signed by George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and John Quincy Adams. It's pretty amazing when you imagine stepping back in time and visualize these men actually signing those pieces. 5 American presidents stood in this room: Carter, Truman, Nixon, Eisenhower. But the Ramos family's favorite president was John F. Kennedy. Kennedy was in Key West a couple of times. During one of those visits, he stopped by the mansion, bringing with him a copy of his infamous inaugural address. Ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And Michael had indicated that Kennedy brought a copy of that speech, and he signed it right here in this room. He signed it, "To my fellow sustaining members of the Democratic Party, John F. Kennedy." A year or so after visiting, Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. Lyndon Johnson was verbally sworn in on Air Force One. You've likely seen this infamous photo of that event. Next to the photo is the Johnson Oath of Office. While on the plane, they realized they needed a signed document, so they searched around and made calls and pulled together the Oath of Office used by Johnson. It was typed on a manual typewriter by Johnson's secretary aboard Air Force One. Johnson signed it immediately, becoming president. Michael indicated that this is not a copy, but is the actual document that Johnson signed on Air Force One that made him president the night Kennedy was assassinated. Over here is a cool little nugget. As folklore has it, here's a bullet hole in the original window that was meant for Al Capone. And fortunately or unfortunately, the bullet missed, but the hole in the windows remained there since the early 1900s. You be the judge if this is a pellet or BB type hole, or if it is in fact a bullet hole. I like to think it's really a bullet hole. Regardless, still a good story, especially since Capone was a resident here. Remember when Edison was said to have installed electricity in the house? Well, here's a gift he passed along to Florida Curry and her new husband as a wedding present. According to local folklore, it is one of Edison's patented home phonographs. This phonograph actually plays The sound comes through this round metal cone, in this case the blue and yellow portion. It attaches to the silver part of the phonograph. Here are some of the wax cylinder music tubes that play on the phonograph. They're called Edison gold molded records. This is a model of a side-wheel steamer named City of Key West. It was a repurposed steamship eventually owned by Henry Flagler that was used to connect Miami to Key West in the late 1800s. It was also used in the Spanish-American War. Atop the case are some photos. This one shows the grand stained glass ceiling that's outside on the north side of the house facing South Street. It captured my attention because I didn't notice it while being outside. Well, that's because it isn't there anymore. You can see the wooden supports instead. Likely it was removed during the transformation, I guess, from the bed and breakfast. Here's an older view of the mansion. And a photo of Ernest Hemingway, who stayed here. We'll see more of him later. Other guests in the mansion included Charles Lindbergh, Louis Armstrong, Tennessee Williams, and Juan Carlos, the King of Spain. This is the staircase to the second floor. We'll go up there in a couple minutes. And over here is a photo of Michael and his late wife, Michelle, who passed away in 2001. Michael set up a charitable foundation called Michelle's Foundation. You can check that out online. And on the wall are photos and signatures of 4 of the 5 American presidents that have visited the house while they were president. Jimmy Carter, Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Richard M. Nixon. And over here are more documents signed by 3 more presidents. Our 5th president, James Monroe, whom a Florida county was named after. Incidentally, the Key West is in Monroe County. And we also have our 4th president, James Madison, as well as our 2nd president, John Adams. So within the house, we've seen original documents signed by Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Quincy Adams, and Monroe. And unless you're a guest in the mansion, you're not permitted to go upstairs. But we're staying here, so we'll go up here and take a look. Here's the 2nd floor. While we're here, let's take a peek in our room. This is often considered the best room in the mansion. I have a separate video that shows this room just a little bit more than this, if you want to take a look at that. A lot of detail in this room, quite elegant. And here's another great feature. Let's go check out the balcony. This is the only room with a private balcony overlooking the Atlantic. Now back to the hallway. This is a non-private balcony that all guests can have access to. It overlooks the Duval Street Pocket Park, which is another nice feature of the placement of this bed and breakfast, as well as the Lopez house across the street. That's the yellow house across the street. So a nice view for everyone to take advantage of. Now we'll head up to the third floor. There's no elevators. And it's kind of tight up here, only a couple of rooms. Looks like 3 rooms. A lot of art in the house. Here's another piece of stained glass. This is not the one in the photograph that was outside on the main floor. I've compared them, and they do not look alike, so I don't think that's it. And back to the second floor. Like we've seen, there's a lot of molding in this house. Very elegant. Still quiet. It's early in the morning. Now we'll go back down to the first floor. Oops. The stairs are aged and a little shallow, so I'm watching my step and not noticing where my fingers are. And the creaking steps, you can tell the house is old. And there's an administrative area. And this room is the bed and breakfast or dining area for the guests. It also has a lot of artifacts in here that anyone can take a look at. Also in this room are windows that have orchids in them to honor Michael's late wife, Michelle. And he had indicated that they'll always be in the windows of this room as a tribute to her. And on the walls in this room hang 8 original letters written in Ernest Hemingway's own handwriting. Sometimes not easy to tell what he wrote, so they had some not translations, but in scriptures like this one, stating what was in the memo, so everyone can understand what he was writing. Hemingway lived in Key West for around 10 years. He owned a house down the street. It has lots of 6-toed cats, polydactyl cats. There's a crazy amount of cats living there, maybe 60. So on a side note, this is the Ernest Hemingway home here in Key West. Quick shot of his writing room. See the cat on the floor? And you see close up here of the cat, you can see the 6 toes on this cat. So if you wanted to check out more on this house, I did a separate video on the house, which is also a museum, and like as I said, full of cats. I'll put that link at the bottom of the page. You could take a look at it if you'd like. Oh, and here is Hemingway's saddle. He went riding using horses stabled in what is now the gift shop just outside. He wrote From Whom the Bell Tolls, I think, and The Death in the Afternoon when he was at that house. And the house is now a museum. And one more quick, broader look at the first floor. Again, this first floor is open pretty much to the public, at least it was, and you come in and take a look at that. Some of the tours that Michael gave was to raise money for the foundation that he and his wife had, well, excuse me, that he had created. So now you've seen it. And that'll do it.